Hello and welcome to today's podcast with Loulou James. And I'm your host, Althea Finch. I'm the creator of the Pain-Free Method and how to be pain-free by tuning into you. And you can find out more about that at painfreedom.co.uk. And as well as teaching people how to be pain-free with my method, I am also host of this podcast with the most amazing guests who come on to share and talk about their experience and knowledge to help all of us with all sorts of different wonderful natural ways. And today we have Loulou James, as I mentioned. And Loulou, we met at the Shine seminars, which is one of my favourite events of the year. It's a really beautiful event, very laid back and chilled, and they serve up incredible food, and it's wall to wall speakers of all sorts of amazing topics and all sorts of and they have a healing area as well, and even the lay of the land of the Shine seminars is on it's on some kind of meridians or something. I'm not quite sure, but the land is very feels you just feel like you just feel like, oh, here I am.
Yeah.
It's very isn't it? It's an incredible land, and they have the most amazing events on the same land of all healing events, one after the other. So the energy is incredible. So I met Loulou there and had a healing session with her special butterfly block, which she's going to be talking all about. Aligning the spine. But Loulou, where did all this start for you? I know you were a physiotherapist, but how did you get into that? Who are you?
Well, it's funny, isn't it? Because last weekend I was at the Complementary Medical Association Global Excellence Summit, quite a mouthful. And
Oh, well, you've been nominated for that, haven't you? You've
sorry,
had you've been nominated
I
for
was
the
um, I was shortlisted for
shortlisted.
the Innovation in Healthcare Award. And as I drove up to the hotel, it occurred to me that it was only 3 miles from where I grew up, and I left there when I was 18, and I was taken straight back to being in at my school, which is a very well-known school in Wokingham in Berkshire, and it was the deputy head, Miss Royal, and I was called into her office. And bless her heart, she had a quite an unfortunate speech impediment. So when she talked, she spat at you, and we were all, as schoolgirls are, awful, really.
Yeah.
Teasing her and whatever. But I can remember she called me in, and it was basically to find out what A levels I wanted to do and what I wanted to do when I grew up. So I worked out that that was 50 years ago.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I can remember saying to her, I wanted to be a physiotherapist. And I really didn't know why, because I didn't know any physios. I didn't know what they did. All I knew was I didn't want to work in an office, and I wanted to help people. I can remember her saying to me, um, you'll never make any money. And I said,
Wow.
well, it's what I want to do. But I do wonder if subconsciously I kind of, held that, because of course, as physiotherapists, uh, yeah, we are a bit of a poor relation in the NHS anyway.
Wow. Well, I think it all depends. I mean, I was interviewing another lady who she's not a physiotherapist now, but she's fully booked in what she does now. She developed herself from that, but she was a physiotherapist, and she didn't want to. She came on the podcast. She didn't want any work because, but she wanted to talk about what is it. But I think you're absolutely right. We pick up things as children, and they're like mindsets or something, and you can't make it go away. Um, we definitely pick up mindsets and patterns as children. We do.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. We've got
So,
to
well,
change that.
I went off to train as a physio, and then I think from the very word go, I've always just done things a little bit differently. And when I was in my final year, all of my friends were the medical students and the nurses, more than the other physios. And in those days, I don't know whether they still do, but the medical students, they do an elective, so they work overseas. Often it's overseas, but or they worked in an area that's different to the hospital where they do their training. And I think it's normally about 6 months. Anyway, all of these medics I knew were all going off to fancy places, Aquatiri and the US and whatever. And I thought, well, do you know what? If it's good enough for them, it's good enough for me. So I organised to do an elective in Australia. And so I spent 6 weeks there. And then when I was there, I was actually offered a job as a physio. And because I was on a student visa, I had to leave. So I went to Hong Kong because I thought, well, that's halfway home and halfway back again if I do get the visa. And so all my plans went to pieces when I arrived in Hong Kong, and I ended up spending 10 years there.
Oh,
And
wow.
I did a lot of, I worked for private practices in Hong Kong, and then I worked for the military. And while I was there, I had a very, um, I guess, lots of wonderful opportunities for exploring different ways of different modalities, different healing modalities. So, of course, acupuncture. I saw, the people in the parks doing qigong. And I thought, what is this? Um,
Mm.
so my eyes were already being opened. And then when I came back to the UK, I took my first job in the NHS. And I have to say, um, I wasn't very suited. It just felt to me too linear. And I can't say that I've never felt that I'm particularly a book smart physio. I'm not very good at retaining information. You get some people and they can just, kind of just tell you all about the muscles and they just hold all of that information. But somehow I was always really good with my patients and they always wanted to come back to me. And over time, I've realized that that's because actually I was a good listener and
Fab.
I was interested in them and I wanted to make a difference to them.
Mm.
And
Beautiful.
it was I didn't when it's the way you are, you don't see it for what it is because it's just how you operate. But I can remember struggling with the time frame. We had 40 minutes to get a patient in, find out what was wrong with them, get them undressed, look at them, assess them, treat them, get them dressed again, make another appointment with them, give them some exercises to go away within 40 minutes.
Sounds a bit tight.
And I can remember talking to my line manager about it, and and he said, "Well, if you don't like it, find another job."
Oh, I've heard
And
that before. It's
I
quite
just
brutal, isn't it? It's not really human and negotiating and compromising anything. It's just
that
chop
was the
chop.
way the NHS was, yeah. And so I
Yeah, a
felt
lot of places are.
unsupported, and then I went to a private hospital, and we had longer there. And I had the most interesting experience while I was there. There was an agency physio from America, and we didn't, each room, we had a private room to work in, and we didn't necessarily have all of the equipment that we needed. And so sometimes we'd be in the middle of a treatment and there'd be a knock on the door and someone would come in and say, "Can I have a this or can I have a that?" Anyway, afterwards, this girl and I, Hannah, we made really good friends, and we were having lunch, and she said, "Wow," she said, "when I came in your room this morning, the energy was flying," and I was like, I don't know what she was talking about. And when she left, she gifted me an Indian head massage with a lady who was a Reiki master. And I had my treatment with her, and she told me something that I'd never told anybody. She told me something about my life. And so that was when I can kind of really feel that my journey into really opening up and to looking at our beingness, our experience here as human beings, beyond the physical, and to
Mm.
understand that healing was beyond the physical. Um, but it's funny because looking back, I was always wanting to find my niche. I did some work with women's health. I did courses on headaches and the temporomandibular joint, these joints here. And so I was just always looking for what is my niche? Where am I going to specialize? And I had no idea until probably a couple of years ago that all of the things that I did, they actually, it was almost like they formed a circle and it was a joining of the dots.
Yeah,
And so once well, I can't say I designed the butterfly technique because it evolved organically. But one of the reasons, or the only reason why I think it evolved at all, is just simply because I had knowledge and understanding of how things work. And so I could start joining the dots. And then it ended up where I came full circle.
fantastic. And it's actually sounds like that's what's my niche? What's my niche? That was a thread pushing you along, gaining your knowledge. And sometimes that happens. I mean, I've been a therapist all my life as well, and sometimes that sort of overriding sort of push gets you through, uh, pushes you through the stuff you need to be collecting, actually. And amazing. So how old were you when, how long ago was it when you created the butterfly technique? When was that? Was it in like a moment of epiphany? I mean, that's what I had. I had a moment of epiphany with my method, but was it like a gradual, you said it's organic. Did it sort of
Well, so the
develop further?
butterfly itself, and I just it might just be there you go. So this is
There
the
you go.
butterfly.
I got one.
Okay. So
Oh,
the
Mickey Mouse.
butterfly itself. So in 2005, I fractured my sacrum, and so I flipped over backwards on my rollerblades. So here's the pelvis from behind. Here we are in front, and here's the triangular bone at the base of the spine, the sacrum. And I fractured um, about in here, and
Wow.
left me with a bruise the size of my hand, which it's still slightly discolored all these years later. So that was in
Wow.
2005, and I was I was really challenged to move to do any of the exercise that I'd been used to taking. So I took up yoga, and I learned a lot more about myself than just physically through doing the yoga. And I realized that this was kind of really what I've been looking for my whole life in terms of getting to know myself, becoming aware, becoming aware. Um, and so I became, I wouldn't say serious about yoga, but it was a regular practice. And then I took a little bit of a sabbatical. And while I was away, I'd trained in abdominal massage, and my teacher lived in Belize and she had broken her arm. And she said to me, well, look, I tell you what, you need a little bit of a break and I need regular physio because I've developed this frozen shoulder. And so I went to Belize for 6 weeks and gave her daily physio and sat there and thought about what is it I'm going to do. And I said, I want to be a yoga teacher.
Mhm.
And so I came back and signed up to a course. And of course, I ended up having to spend a lot more time sitting in meditation. And so I started doing that, and I was miserable because I was sitting on these rectangular yoga blocks. the front edge was digging in the back of my thigh. I was uncomfortable and I was fidgeting. I couldn't quieten my mind. So eventually I started in while I was supposed to be meditating, designing the butterfly. So I had this argument with myself the whole time. I'm meditating, I'm emptying my mind. And then in my mind, I was just like drawing, what the butterfly would look like. I think probably one of the most exciting things for me is that the butterfly that you see now is the original shape. So there were, as against, is it Richard Dyson, Robert Dyson, the guy who developed the vacuum cleaner? I think he built 1,076 prototypes or something to get the finished article. And well, the butterfly that's it. Um,
Of the original.
so that was in, so then I took the butterfly to see a lovely man who set up Yoga Matters, as it was known then and as it's known now. And he used to be a fruit and veg man. And when he took up yoga, he ended up sourcing some really good sticky mats and selling them out of the back of his car at the end of a yoga class. And yoga, that's where Yoga Matters came from. And I went to see him and he said, "This is fantastic. I would have this on the website. If you'd already gone in production, this would be on the website and I'd be selling it before you leave the office today." So that was the motivation that I needed. Very sadly,
Yeah.
he passed not too long after that.
Oh
And
wow.
so yeah, I lost that lovely relationship there, but it was the push that I needed. I went into production. And it kind of, everything then just took a different path from there.
And when was that? When did you go into production? How long ago was that?
10 years ago.
Uh, and it's very simple, isn't it? But it's very ergonomic. Like you've got it sort of right, it goes lower here, then it rises there, and it's higher at the back. And can you just explain to the viewers? I mean, how does it work? I mean, I know, you've shown me, but how does it make your spine align?
Well, to start off with, the butterfly really is two things. So it's a meditation seat. It's for sitting on. You can use it cross-legged on the floor. You can also use it on a chair. So anyone who wants to just work with their posture can use it sitting on a chair. And the whole point of the indent, so this is the front, the whole point of the indent at the back is that the tailbone is offloaded when you're sitting. So if you think of your sit bones, you've got these ischial tuberosities here. So if you think of them as sitting on the back of the butterfly here, and my index finger is the tailbone, what that means is that all of the buttock flesh can fall away, and also you don't have the seat itself pushing on the buttock flesh and holding it up against the coccyx. Now, if you go onto Google and you type in the coccyx, it will actually tell you that it's weight bearing and sitting. That's nonsense. Well, it shouldn't be. But the problem is that most of us, when we sit, we actually do end up rolling backwards, there you go, into what we call a posterior pelvic tilt. And then the tailbone does become weight bearing, and it shouldn't be. So especially when we sit on the settee, when we slouch, when we're on a beanbag, when we're on a waterbed, and invariably when you're in a car, you actually have pressure on the tailbone, which doesn't want to be there. And so I was quite keen that certainly when we came into sitting for yoga, that the tailbone be free. I hadn't anticipated at that time that the butterfly could be used on a chair for postural rehabilitation. But I have quite a few people doing that, and especially people who have some kind of neurological impairment. So multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's. But anyone, because if you think about it, most of the time when we sit down, we immediately launch ourselves, throw ourselves on, we've got the chair back, we might have arms, And we're just fully supported. So we actually don't have to use our postural muscles anymore.
Mm.
And spending some time sitting with your, even if you're not coming to the cross-legged position, but with your feet flat on the floor, and with your arms unsupported, you might even want to just put a cushion on your lap and just have your hands resting palm uppermost. And then you just really feel the sit bones. So you have no support behind your back. It's like sitting on a stool. And then you just really feel that you're grounded through your feet. So you want to have your knees a little bit lower than your hips. So ideally, what you're looking at, if here's your spine, you've got about 135 degrees actually. So that means that you're not there, because as soon as the knees and the hips are the same height, that kind of almost pushes you into this posterior pelvic tilt where you're
Have to
eliminating
rise my chair. Can't find the button. I might have to
you
look for it afterwards.
you eliminate the when you go into a posterior pelvic tilt, it means that the low back, the spine, loses its natural backward facing curve. So that's about the butterfly as a seat. There are also lots of different ways that you can use it for yoga, different postures. And those are, obviously that's for the people who are in the world of yoga. But the butterfly technique, that was what all evolved organically.
And it's amazing because I came into you in the Shine seminars. There was a whole sort of apart from all the seminars going on, there was a lovely healing circles as we were talking, as I was talking about earlier. And I came to have a treatment with you. And I mean, we just did a quick one. Was it sort of, was it 10, 15 minutes or something from in that time? And it was just very, very calming, very relaxing. Just that 10 minutes. And you say you don't know all the you don't do all the technical thing, but I heard a lot of technical, correcting my position and telling me how to experience this. Like I can't remember what you said now, but it was just very clear instruction, and it was just really calming. I could have just sunk there for half an hour. It was just the right position and just instantly calming. As I remember, and
Well, you know, uh, uh, understanding why. So, how it came about originally is where I had a fracture, it left me with a really large knobble of bone. And literally, when I lie down on the floor for yoga, this knobble of bone hits the ground first. So if you look at all of these different bony bits, none of those hit the ground first. This bony knobble on my sacrum does. And so it's miserable. And so soon after the butterfly arrived, I was doing my yoga practice. I was lying on the floor. I was frustrated because I couldn't get comfortable. So I always say I'm a little bit like the princess in the Princess and the Pea story, you know. I needed like 5 yoga mats in order to be comfortable. But still, I wasn't really comfortable. Anyway, what happened was the butterfly was lying by my side, and I happened to glance down at it, and I thought, oh, my engineer's brain, what happens if I place the butterfly under my pelvis so that my sacrum is resting in the indent like that? So can't quite see it, but the sacrum and the tailbone absolutely free in the indent. And so I put the butterfly underneath. Oh, I can lie down. This is amazing. And so I closed my eyes, took myself into meditation. I can remember I think I actually fell asleep. And when I took the butterfly out, I felt completely different. One of the things that I couldn't get my head around was that the bone, the knobbly bit of bone, was somewhere different. I couldn't tell you how it was different, but something had changed. And anyway, I just felt amazing. And the position itself was comfortable. So that was became part of my daily yoga practice. And before I did the yoga, and at the end of my session. So that was lovely. But what happened was within a couple of weeks of doing that, 10 years worth of back pain disappeared.
Fantastic. And because of course the body adjusts to the whatever. So from your accident or from emotional stress or from whatever life and hard work or whatever, the whole body adjusts to you all the time. And I find that, I mean, as a therapist, a hands-on therapist, often people would say, "Oh, I didn't know that was stuck there. I didn't know that was in pain. Didn't know that was tight." So we walk around as a constant balancing system, and it balances to whatever you do. And I like to say everything's okay until it's not, until you get that bruise or the accident or the bony bit sticking out that you can't get comfortable. And then you look for answers naturally. And so when you do something like you do with your correction, the whole body will adjust to that. The body wants to be in calm and centered alignment.
Yeah.
So it's always calling us, called you through the meditation, isn't it? To work to create it. And I love how that looking at life like that is extraordinary because it just calls us back to alignment all the time. And yeah, so as you did the correct action, the whole system, your whole body could get back into alignment and sort itself out.
It
It's
just,
so beautiful, incredible, isn't it?
and I think so. I mean, that explains why you feel so relaxed afterwards. And so you can be relaxed during and then afterwards, you carry on because the autonomic nervous system, it's still working. And, it's taking you into that place. Often when I lie down on the butterfly and, I, I set it up correctly and I take my first breath into the belly and then breathe out and just let myself really land. And my tummy will just do this great big gurgle. And it's that's you can't make it up. And often I'll yawn. Uh,
Sort of
so
release.
all the classic signs of just the nervous system resetting itself, and when the nervous system is working, or really working for you to come back into that alignment, and the craniosacral system, it's that is the body's they're the body's deepest organizing systems. And so
Yes.
it's not surprising that you feel really relaxed and you don't want to jump up afterwards.
Mm. That's what you said, was it? Just get up slowly, you said. And so, can you tell us, Lulu, about people that, because this is your amazing um, experience yourself, but can you, and I've certainly had a lovely experience, but can you tell us about people that, how people come to you and what happened for them? How long did it take for change, or what were the results for other people? Is it okay to share a client story at all?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I have some photographs here. The most the most extraordinary thing when we start to talk about the kind of healing that you're doing and what I'm doing with the butterfly technique is that because we're working with the whole body, mind, spirit continuum, we go into a different time frame. So whereas as a physiotherapist, I'd be saying, well, this is going to take you 6 weeks and you need to do this 5 minutes a day, 3 times a day, and so on and so forth. We go into a completely different paradigm. And I think that that's really exciting. We can start to really take on board that the body is a self-healing system, and we're actually healing all the time. So even what we might think of as sickness and illness is actually they're all the steps along the way taking us towards healing, because that's what the body wants. The body is seeking health all the time. Um, so all of these, and this was, I, I just want to say, I didn't know that. I mean, you might know that, and in your world, but coming from this as a physiotherapist, I didn't have that kind of language. We were brought up with a much more linear, mechanistic system. You know, you need this, you have to do this, you know, and it's always about applying things from the outside than understanding that the body has an intelligence. And even when I started to learn that the body has an intelligence, I still didn't join the dots and really get that the spine has an intelligence. It was a long time before I really understood that. And so when we, and the greater our intention, of course, it's absolutely the butterfly technique itself. You lie down with the butterfly under the pelvis. It's absolutely essential that the butterfly is positioned in the right place. And it's also essential that you have the correct support under the knees for you. Some people it will be one pillow, some people it will be two. And if I can actually just take a little bit of a sidestep there, the first person I worked with, I'm going to show you the photograph here, is my mother.
Oh,
And I love my mum so much. And what happened was she'd spent 2 days with me. We'd done lots of things. We'd done girly things. We'd gone shopping. We'd had lunch together. We'd spent some time in the garden. And as she was leaving, I can remember I put my hand on her back and I said, you know, I've always prided you, as always thought of you of having really good posture, but you're looking a little bit round-shouldered. Why don't you come and lie down on the butterfly like I've been doing? Oh no, she said, I don't want to do that. I don't like lying down on my back because I've got this big arch and I always have to bend my knees up. And I said, oh look, I'll try and make you comfortable, you know, give, you know, trust me kind of thing. Anyway, it took quite some persuasion, but I managed to get her to come and lie down. And I had to put 3 pillows under her head. And she laid down and she had the butterfly under her pelvis. We had some support under her knees. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to go and give her feet a little bit of a rubby dub. I went down to her feet and I looked up at her head. I thought, well, that's ridiculous. Why have I put so many pillows there? So I had to reduce the pillows.
right.
Went back down to her feet, started giving her feet a massage. I looked up at her head and I thought, what is wrong with me? It didn't dawn on me what was happening. Went back, changed the pillows. And this went on. I literally was doing this dance back and forth, and I hadn't realized that it was because her spine was realigning. It wasn't that I'd got the pillows wrong, but she was transitioning so quickly, transforming, that this was by the time I got down to her feet, it was wrong. So she went from 3 pillows down to one.
Yeah.
And
When you do the right things, the body adjusts. The body will respond automatically. I like to say healing is immediate. It is immediate. When you do the right buttons, do the right things, the body automatically, ping, it just automatically reacts. And you get it right, isn't it?
so, you know, I took a little phone on I took a little picture on my mobile, didn't obviously have a chance to have a look at it. And she got up and she said, wow. I said, I feel completely different. So I said, look, I tell you what, why don't you talk to the camera? Let me just take a little video because, you know, I'm only just starting with this and I've been told that I need to do something called social media. I don't know what it is. And and so I standing there, put the video on and I got my mother in a chair and she was sitting down and she started talking. And then all of a sudden she said, I'm going to well up. Makes my heart kind of squeeze thinking about it. She said, I'm going to well up. And she couldn't carry on. And so I was there with the camera and I was kind of stuck. And I was like, what am I doing? Anyway, I put the camera down. I went and sat with her and I just said, what's going on? Now, bearing in mind, she'd been with me for 2 days and she told me nothing about what was going on. And all of a sudden, I heard about how her friends were getting sick. Some of her friends had lost their husbands. Some of her friends had lost their wives. that they would, they're coming and talking with her, and she was feeling totally overwhelmed with life. And I've never, ever seen my mother burst into tears before or after.
Wow.
And so when I came to look at the photographs, and I'm going to be a little bit sneaky here, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you one little bit first of all. Let's do it that way round. So, and in some ways it's quite good that you just see it from afar. You can see that this one here, she actually is falling forwards.
Yeah.
If you really have a look, she's falling forwards. And this one here, this is afterward. She's really kind of just coming into just being very grounded, very centered. Look at the angle of her sweater.
Mm.
Look at the shape of her low back and her upper back. And then
The whole posture is upright, isn't it? Not forward.
whole posture.
It's almost like a different person.
And it's so changed, and so many of those changes have come from the inside. It's quite tricky to identify all of the different things. You can just tell she just looks centered, grounded in herself. So now, rather than show you the before and after close-up of her face straight on, if I just ask you, what mood do you think she's in there?
Thoughtful, thinking about stuff, thinking
Would
about
you
what to
think
do.
she's stressed or relaxed?
Um, actively thinking. That's what I get.
Good. Have a look at that.
Oh, detached, let go, seeing things from afar.
Was completely different. So actually,
Yeah,
in the first one, I get that she's looking really quite stressed, very tight around the mouth. She's got a bags around her eyes and dark circles around her eyes. And when we come up to that one, much more relaxed around the jaw and the mouth,
soften.
much.
Mm.
And actually, even the swelling underneath her eye had gone down.
Yeah, makes your bags go away. Where's the pillow? Quick.
So once I thought, well, what happened? Well, I don't know. But for me, it was just all I got was the nervous system has reset itself. The whole body-mind continuum had just reset itself.
Because it's our stuff that gets in the way, isn't it? Our stresses and thoughts and maybe past stuff or our internal workings create stress. We get in the way of balance. We are in the way of natural order. It's us with the problem. So when you do things to allow the balance, sorry, then the body will reset. I remember putting my hands on a guy one time, by this time I was doing shiatsu and reflexology, but what I was really doing, or I was feeling the person, and I could feel where the holding was, and I used to go to the holding and loosen that up and whatever. So I was feeling the person essentially. And I remember one guy, he sat on this massage chair thing, and he was one of these guys does all the pumping irons and all built up and all his muscles built up and all this thick wall of muscle mass he was. And when I put my hands on him, started to tune into him, he started to shake and sweat, and his heart was going 90 miles an hour, and he was starting to freak out. And I said to him, "Oh, don't worry, it's just resetting. Just keep breathing, let it happen, and it'll hurry up. It'll get on with it." Very graphic way of seeing the resetting, like your mum. It's a resetting, and it's always there for you.
It's always there. It is absolutely. And it is about then, the reason why for me yoga has been really important is because the teachings really teach you a level of compassion, which I feel is missing from so many other, the rest of life. I haven't I don't
Just
know.
the rest of life.
I mean, I would say I'm not a churchgoer, but I've always been interested in spirituality, and I've been drawn. I can remember going to a Quaker meeting house once, and I remember just being deeply moved by this service. So the opportunity and the experience of coming into stillness within myself and connecting with something that really is unnamed has always been it's always really held me and moved me. I used to always cry when I went into a church and I didn't really understand why. And it's about this sort of understanding that we are connected to something much bigger than ourselves, and the intelligence is within our body is absolutely part of that. And where the so
Amen. Amen.
compassion is really important, and uh, because what happens is, as you said, we get in the way. It's about having compassion for those things within us that get in the way, whether it's the habitual thinking, the thoughts, the self-sabotage, the programming, that we've all been conditioned to, and that we hold on to. I love my mother dearly. It turns out that she soon after this event, she was diagnosed with Parkinson's. Now, I'm a lifestyle prescriptions health coach. It's one of the other things that I do, which is actually based on German new medicine. So it's very similar to what you do. It's a different structure, Althea. Um, and we talk a lot about what are those thoughts and beliefs, what are those early programs, that you're really holding on to. And yesterday I had lunch with my mother, and she talks about my Parkinson's, my
Mm,
Parkinson's.
mm,
And I have so much, I'm not judging her at all. I have a lot of compassion, and I just wish I could make it better. But in many, many cases, for all of us, we go through situations in life where there is what we call, as an old-fashioned physio, secondary gain. So it might be that actually, what is it that we are gaining by holding on to this story?
yeah.
Um, and
Mm,
unless we are ready and willing to look at what is that story, and is it something that we could let go now, then
mm. Totally hear you. That's what I tell my clients all the time. You have to be ready, and I say ready and open. You say ready and willing. There it is. And unless we are ready to heal, I mean, in my own journey, I could never have done any of this before 30. I wasn't ready. I was defending and defensive and whatever. Yeah, you have to be ready to heal, isn't it? Allowing.
And so I think this is where the compassion comes in. I mean, even last week, I was looking at something that I hadn't realized that I had that I had a very early programming within me, and that I was creating situations to to keep to keep. And it's not if it, I think it's really important to understand that this is all a sort of subconscious, unconscious activity, and it's
Mhm.
why it takes awareness. It takes absolute willpower to look at it and to keep noticing, to keep that awareness alive. And last week I suddenly thought, oh my God, I've carried this pattern since childhood, and I have been creating situations to keep that pattern going, because that's what my my fight or flight system. That's what keeps, it thinks it's keeping me safe. And actually, it's really time to let this go. And,
Mm.
I could have been really angry. It could have been really, upset. I could have started blaming and pointing fingers, but instead I just needed to really acknowledge, you know what, girl? Um, it's taken how long for you to really understand this?
It takes as long as it takes. That's what I say. Healing takes as long as it takes when you're good and ready. And it might be in little baby steps. It might be in little moments and little awarenesses and ahas. And being brave to allow yourself to be you underneath whatever you're carrying. Allow yourself to shine, isn't
Yeah.
it? And
And
for
going back to the butterfly technique, one of the reasons why you might say, well, what has this got to do with what we're talking about here? Well, everything feeds into the same hole. So you've got the physical, you've got the mental, you've got the emotional, you've got the spiritual. And the thing is that we want to find what are the entry points? How can we get into that? And the butterfly technique is probably, and I've worked with a lot of different modalities. I'm trained in abdominal massage. I'm trained in acupuncture. I'm trained in the emotional freedom technique, matrix re-imprinting, a whole bunch of things. And all of them, are they an access point? Are they an entry point to getting in that hole? How effective are they? How efficient are they?
mm,
And all I know is that when you go into the butterfly, when you use the butterfly technique, and this is why I'm now um, writing meditations to go with the technique. So you mentioned that your experience, well, wait a minute, although I wasn't technical, I introduced a whole load of things. You're absolutely right. Because when I started to and it's still evolving, I'm still learning about why the butterfly technique is as good as it is. I was listening to a lovely book last week, Joe Dispenza, and he um, was talking about the craniosacral system and said something that was offered a new perspective for me. Um, but when we so going back, the meditations are actually designed to help get into the axial skeleton. So I brought your awareness to your eyes, to your ears, to your mouth, and then I worked down the axial skeleton. Now, you might not actually have any awareness of that, but because I knew, or I know that when you do the technique, these are the parts of your body that are releasing. That when I draw your attention to it, even though you're going into meditation, you're in altered brainwave state, ideally, already energetically, you're supporting that intelligence within the body. So we're kind of coming at it from different angles.
yes,
Um, and it's just something that you can do, you might even just lie down on the butterfly and just say, I'm ready to become aware of holding in my body that is perhaps holding me back. I'm
mm.
ready. I'm ready to become aware of it. And then you just listen to some lovely music and just let yourself even drift off. And you will get the answer. Even if not right then, they'll come to you. You'll be washing up or stirring the baked beans, and it'll be like, oh, that's what.
Oh, Lily, this is just so sublime. I bought the butterfly for my daughter because I noticed you showed me a picture of a 14-year-old girl who was really
Funny enough,
round.
right here on top.
I showed that. So you showed me this, and I thought, oh my gosh, that looks like my daughter.
So with
Of
this
course,
one here, she was, she was only 14. Her breasts had obviously started to develop, and she didn't know whether she wanted to hide them or be proud of them. So she was really in, what do I do with my new body? And she didn't know how to stand. Now she still needs a little bit of correction. So this is before here and after here, but this was just literally. And I know that if I'd gone in as a physio and said, well, wait a minute, you need to put your shoulders back, you need to lay this, you need to do that, it would have been overwhelming. And even if she'd been able to do that right there and then in front of me, as soon as she walked away and bought herself an ice cream, she would be, she's not thinking about it anymore. So when the body changes itself from the inside, you no longer have to sort of say, oh, I must remember to put my shoulders back. Oh, I must remember to, blah, blah,
But
blah.
which will feel like an effort, but you're talking about allowing, creating the environment for allowing, and the body will naturally come back into alignment. And I just wanted to say, I bought it for my daughter, but of course, stroppy teenager, she doesn't want to do what mum says. She hasn't used it once. I'm thinking maybe I bought it for me, actually. I'm going to go and use it afterwards. So I'll let you know how what changes. And I thought maybe I bought it for me actually. But this is the thing, isn't it? As like your where's my niche? Where's my niche? Where's my niche? It took you to the correct learning and the correct journey. Sometimes things come in sideways. You don't realize, the calling is always there.
Do you know,
And
I do know in the world of yoga, I know people who bought the butterfly for yoga and meditation, and I've introduced them to the butterfly technique and they don't do it. They don't do it. And even myself, sometimes I'm like, you know, I know that I used to get in trouble when I was growing up because I'm incredible. I've got a very, very strong mind. And I've started to become really aware of both of how that strong mind both works for me and against me. And one of the things that I say, you don't need the butterfly technique today. Why just get on with just get on, go out for your run or go out on your bike or whatever, or
oh, lost you. Just while the Zoom is realigning, if you want to ask any questions, please do. We just lost you for a moment there, Lulu. But I'm just saying I can't believe how, the hour's gone so quick. I'm just really delighted by your talk. But if anybody wants to pop in with a question, please do. Um, did you want to ask a question, Garasna? No. If anyone would like to, you can unmute if you want to. Anybody who wants to ask a question. We're going to keep nattering, but if you want to ask a question, just unmute and go ahead. Lulu, sorry, I interrupted you there. So yeah, so you're being aware of the pros and cons of your natural abilities.
it's just that I'll argue myself. I don't need it today. Just, can't I just get on with my day? Because my mind wants to go on. Well, get out, go outside, be on my bike, go out for a run. It's like, but you know that if you realign your spine before you go running, before you get on the bike, before you do your yoga practice, before you go about your day, you're going to optimize yourself physically, emotionally, energetically. So just bloody do it.
Just bloody do. Oh, this has been a really beautiful, um, enchanting talk. And before we came on air, you were saying, "Oh, I just rabbited away and will talk forever," but I really don't think you have. I think you've been absolutely succinct and eloquent. And Rose says she's a great podcast. Really enjoyed this. Thank you to both of you. That's what Rose says.
Oh, thank you, Rose.
Rose. And yeah, it's alignment, allowing, isn't it? So Lulu, we come to the top of the hour. I'm so sorry everybody not allowing you to come in sooner, but I mean I was just carried away on your wave of your story and your talking. And do get in touch with Lulu if you feel if you need some help for aligning and if this is resonating with you, go and have a chat to her. And Lulu, how do people get into contact with you?
So the website is thebutterfly.com, and butterfly is spelt with an A in the middle.
But
Uh, Butterfly, thebutterfly.com. And I think the most exciting thing for me is that because of the different modalities that I'm trained in, um, the thing that I love to do most is guide people into the butterfly technique and then with meditation, which is specifically for them. And so in the meditation, what I will do is, they will have told me a little bit about what their problem is. Energetically, I can also get a sense of it. And I just weave in these subliminal messages into the meditation. And I think, I did 45 treatments at WOMAD, the World International Music Festival, in 4 days last year.
Wow.
And every single one went away better. And I took everybody through the technique that I did with you, working with that meditation. So I've got a little bit of a system. And then I would just add in a little bit of something for them. And I mean, one guy, he was mid-60s, and he said that he had 24-hour constant back pain for 10 years, which is kind of hard to believe, not even drifting in and out. And when he got up from the meditation, he said he didn't have back pain for the first time that he can remember. So it's pretty special.
That's
I love my work.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And when you work with the body, when you allow, when you do the right, hit the right button or use the right techniques, the body just gives, it just goes back into alignment as its natural state. Lily, it's just extraordinary. I've been crying all the way through this, and those who know me, I thought, why do I cry all the time? I think it's what you said. It's exactly that it's a reminder of connection to spirit, of where we're supposed to be. And I feel like when I cry, it's like confirmation. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Relax, let it flow. That's it. That's the connection. That's what it feels like anyway. And I've been crying all the way through this. Um, yeah, we are not separate beings. We're not islands unto our own. We are all connected. Your whole system is connected, and if you're ready to let stuff go, and Sarah says, thank you so much for the podcast. Have a great day. You're welcome. Thank you so much. Oh, I could talk for another hour. Wonderful, Lulu. Just wonderful. So I'm going to be with this replay. It's going to be available to everybody tomorrow. I'm going to be sending out the website then, and the Butterfly Technique programs and workshops. And you have a book to book a consultation online, or you're in Richmond, in the Richmond clinic.
I'm no longer in Richmond,
Okay.
actually, but at the moment, everything is online because I've had
Okay.
some personal changes. It's
I will
surprising
correct that quick.
online for COVID, and it's really effective, and in some ways it even works better because people are in their own home.
I was going to say that's really interesting, isn't it? So people can buy the Butterfly block, and
Mm.
then you set up an online session, and you can talk them through online.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That means it really opens it up to so many more people, I think. Well, it does, doesn't it? It's fantastic. And this meditation, because you create the meditation as to the needs of the person and what the person wants from you, and you talk them through the meditation as they use the block.
And they get the recording so that they can listen to it again.
Perfect. So lovely. And is there anything that you wanted to add that is important that I haven't asked you, like what about this or what about that? Is there something else you wanted to add for viewers, people who perhaps need your help?
Only in that, so the meditation that's available online right now is the first one, and that there are a series of 7, and that those are coming, and that I also have an ebook coming, and a natural back care and spine health program coming. They've Because I've ended up unexpectedly moving house, they've all kind of just gone onto the back burner, but they will all be coming very soon.
Fantastic. I'm going to give all those links with the recording, which will be available tomorrow at painfreedom.co.uk. And if you go to my website and just scroll along to the podcast, and you'll see Lulu's recording there by tomorrow. Lulu, it's been absolutely delightful. I've really enjoyed your talk, your podcast, and I know it's just tip of the iceberg, actually, of what's possible for somebody. But thank you so much, everybody, for listening. And for those listening on the replay, hit like and subscribe, and do share because it puts the word out there further for more people to get help from people like Loulou, for their spine, for their healing. And yeah, so Loulou, I always like to leave the last word to my guests. How would you like to leave everybody today?
I'm not thinking about it. The only thing that's coming to me is believe in yourself.
In a nutshell, perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Loulou, for coming on
Thank you
and
for having
sharing
me. Really
your
lovely.
wonderful. Thank you so much. Wonderful. And thank you everybody for joining us. I will see you on the next one. Bye for now.